Hello children, welcome to the last video of Bepin Choudhury's Lapse of Memory. Before we start, take a look on flashback of the story. Children, as you know, we have completed first, second and third part of the story. So after reading all these three parts, we came to know that Bepin Choudhury was a regular visitor at Kalicharan's bookshop in the New Market. That day, however, he had a strange feeling that someone was observing him closely. He turned round only to see a meek-looking person break into a smile. The man seemed much surprised that Bepin Babu had not recognized him. He told Bepin Babu that he had been with him for a week when he visited Ranchi in 1958. Obviously, Bepin Babu thought that the man who called himself Parimal Ghose was mistaken. He had never been to Ranchi. He told him so, but Ghose looked at him in disbelief. Ghose laughed aloud. He narrated the incidents of his Ranchi journey in detail. He told Chaudhary how he had injured his knee in Hudroo. It was Ghose who had come to his help then. One Mr. Dinesh Mukerji was also in Ranchi at that time. Ghose was sure that Chaudhary knew him. Chaudhary had stayed in a hired bungalow while Mukerji remained with his sister. He even reminded Chaudhary that he always carried a bag with his books on his sightseeing trips. Now, Bepin Babu asked Ghose which month it was. October, replied Ghose. At this, Bepin Babu said that in October 1958, he was with his friend at Kanpur. Ghose didn't give in. He told Bepin Babu how he had one day spoken about his lonely life. Bepin Babu had then spoken about his dead wife and the only brother who died insane. Bepin Babu felt that while he stepped out, Ghose was still looking at him in disbelief. Bepin Babu asked his driver Sitaram to drive by the Ganga. He regretted having paid any heed to Ghose, yet the incident haunted his mind. The man knew a great deal about him. For the first time, a slight doubt assailed his mind. Was he losing his mind? But he remembered well that he was at Kanpur. Suddenly, he thought of writing to Haridas Bagche, his host at Kanpur. Then he remembered that Haridas had left for Japan a few weeks before. Bepin Babu rolled up his trousers and took a look at his right knee. There was a cut mark. It was difficult to remember when he had got it. Then he thought of Dinesh Mukerji. Ghose had said that Dinesh was in Ranchi at that time. He wanted to go to him at once, but what would Dinesh think of him? After all, Bepin Babu knew that he had never been to Ranchi. Dinesh would certainly consider him a little insane. He knew also that Dinesh was never his well-wisher. Bepin Babu felt much better when he was home. After dinner, he lost himself in a new novel and forgot all about Ghose. Next day in office, the incident came back to him. Just before lunch, Bepin Babu decided to ring up Dinesh. To his surprise, Dinesh confirmed what Ghose had said. Bepin Babu slammed the receiver down. He had lost his appetite. He did not take his lunch. Mr. Mukerji had only added to his worries. And in third part of the story, we have seen that Bepin Babu had been in that firm for 25 years. For the first time, he was feeling sick. He could not continue working. His head was in a whirl. He came home. It was only 2:30. At 7:30, there was a visitor named Chunilal. Bepin Babu knew why Chunilal had come. They were at school together. Now, Chunilal was having a rough time. He wanted Bepin Babu's help about a job. Bepin Babu knew he could not do anything and told him so. Yet Chunilal kept pressing. So at first he sent word that he could not meet Chunilal for a few weeks. Then, remembering something, he hurried down to see him. He asked Chunilal if he remembered his going to Ranchi in 1958. Of course, Chunilal did. He looked at Bepin Babu's face with concern. How could a man with so sharp a memory forget it? Chunilal had himself been at the railway station to see him off. He expressed great concern about Bepin Babu's health. Bepin Babu said that it must be the hard work. He told Chunilal that he would consult a specialist. Bipin Babu went to Dr. Paresh Chandra and put his problem before him. The doctor was puzzled. He told him that his was an unusual case. He remembered everything except his trip to Ranchi, yet he was somehow convinced to having been there. So the doctor suggested that he should go to Ranchi now. The sight of the place might remind him of the trip. Children, now proceed to the fourth and the final part of the story. Getting off the train at Ranchi next morning, he realized at once that he had never been there before. He came out of the station, took a taxi and drove around the town for a while. He realized that the streets, the buildings, the hotels, the bazaars, the Rabadi hills, with none of these had he the slightest acquaintance. Would a trip to the Hudroo Falls help? He didn't believe so, but at the same time, he didn't wish to leave with the feeling that he hadn't tried enough. So he arranged for a car and left for Hudroo in the afternoon. Children, let's see the words. Slightest means least. Acquaintance means familiarity. At 5 o'clock the same afternoon in Hudroo, two Gujrati gentlemen from a group of picnickers discovered Bepin Babu lying unconscious beside a boulder. When he came round, the first thing Bepin Babu said was, "I'm finished. There is no hope left." Children, picnickers means people of picnic. Discovered means found. Unconscious means faint or senseless. Beside means by the side of. Boulder means a big round stone by the side of the fall. Next morning, Bepin Babu was back in Calcutta. He realized that there was truly no hope for him. Soon he would lose everything: his will to work, his confidence, his ability, his balance of mind. Was he going to end up in the asylum yet? Bepin Babu couldn't think anymore. Back home he rang up Dr. Chanda and asked him to come over. Then, after a shower, he got into bed with an ice bag clamped on his head. Just then the servant brought him a letter which someone had left in the letter box, a greenish envelope with his name in red ink on it. Children, let's see the difficult words. Asylum, here it is mental asylum. Rang up, telephoned. Clamped, tied. Urgent, necessary. Above the name it said urgent and confidential. In spite of his condition, Bepin Babu had a feeling that he ought to go through the letter. He tore open the envelope and took out the letter. This is what he read. Dear Bepin, I had no idea that affluence would bring about the kind of change in you that it has done. Was it so difficult for you to help out an old friend down on his luck? I have no money, so my resources are limited. What I have is imagination, a part of which I use in retribution of your unfeeling behavior. Well, you will be all right again now. A novel I have written is being considered by a publisher. If he likes it enough, it will see me through the next few months. Yours, Chunilal. Let's see the difficult words. Affluence means wealth. Down on his luck means unlucky. Resources means limited, small. In retribution of, as a punishment for. See me through means help me to pass. When Dr. Chanda came, Bepin Babu said, I'm fine. It all came back as soon as I got off the train at Ranchi. A unique case, said Dr. Chanda. I shall certainly write about it in a medical journal. The reason why I sent for you, said Bepin Babu, is that I have a pain in the hip from a fall I had in Ranchi. If you could prescribe a painkiller. By Satyajit Ray. Children, in fourth part, we have seen that Bipin got off the train at Ranchi station the next morning and instantly knew he had never been there. Still he went to the Hudroo Falls. There he was found unconscious by two men. On regaining consciousness, Bipin said there was no hope left for him. Back in Calcutta, Bipin wondered if he was going mad and would end up in an asylum. He asked Dr. Chanda to come over. He has got into bed. His servant brought an envelope marked urgent and confidential. The letter expressed Chunni's sorrow at Bipin's lack of sympathy for him, who was his childhood friend. He did not have money, but he certainly had imagination, which he had used to teach a lesson to Bipin for his unkindness. As for Chunni, one of his novels was being considered for publication, which would help him get hold of some money. Bipin told Dr. Chanda later that he had remembered everything as he reached Ranchi. He had called him just to get some painkillers as he had fallen in Ranchi. So this is all about in this chapter. I hope you enjoyed as well as understood the chapter well. Thank you. Take care.